Okay, we are one past and we are at 100 attendees. That's excellent. Welcome. Thank you everyone for joining. So we will go ahead and get started with our webinar on our AI LPR solutions. A couple introductory points. One, the webinar is being recorded. It will be available for replay. It'll be on our website as a video file, along with this presentation in PDF format. You can always go to our website, hanwhavisionamerica.com, go to trainings and webinars to view past webinars, and we will be shortly posting the next quarter webinar schedule on our website. Everyone is in listen-only mode. I'll take Q&A at the end, so feel free to use the Q&A section in Zoom, put in any questions. If it's kind of off topic or outside the scope, I might reply to you individually, but I'll take questions afterwards. And so my name is Aaron Sachs, Director of Product Training in the Boston area with Hanwha Vision America. And I have two of my colleagues on our training team as well, who are signed in here, so they may also help with any questions that may come up. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. And so our agenda is we're going to start with an introduction of what the key features of what our solution does and provides. You'll see a little video we'll tick it off with in a moment. And then we're going to talk about the different camera models that make up this lineup, this portfolio. We'll talk about some key installation considerations, and that's a big part of this webinar is making sure that the camera is placed in the right location to get the best read possible. We'll talk about some of the resources that we have for that as well. We'll talk about VMS integration, and then I'll finally do a demo connecting to some live cameras that we have at some of our heights, our experience centers, our innovation technology experience centers. And then again, we'll do Q&A and wrap up at the end. So I'm going to play a video. Hopefully you can see it okay. This video is on our YouTube channel. The audio, hopefully, again, will come through. So I'll stop talking for a second so you can watch this. It's a quick 1, maybe 2-minute video here.
Keep your eyes on the road with Wisenet Road AI. Using advanced AI video analytics, Wisenet Road AI-enabled network cameras can identify detected objects as vehicles, capturing detected license plates along with country and state information, while distinguishing between vehicle types, makes and models, and vehicle colors. Wisenet Road AI-enabled network cameras are available in a variety of form factors and suitable for vehicle identification applications, ranging from parking lots and slow-moving traffic, up to 45 miles per hour, and highway and toll booth monitoring, up to 95 miles per hour. Extracted information can be stored on the edge as metadata for use during forensic review, along with the best shot image of the vehicle, allowing users to quickly search for and identify vehicles of interest. Stored vehicle data is visualized in an easy-to-use dashboard, giving you a statistical overview of traffic conditions in a captured area. Using standard communications protocols, captured vehicle data can be seamlessly integrated into any video management system or national crime database, access control systems, and video management solutions. Why sit through traffic during your forensic review when you could be using Wisenet Road AI-enabled cameras? From Hanwha TechWing. To learn more, visit us at hanwhasecurity.com.
Okay, so hopefully that gave a good overview of what the big picture features of the solution. Obviously, some of them will depend, things like speeds and distances will vary based on the model. Again, we'll talk about the models shortly. So this solution is an edge-based solution, meaning it's running completely on the camera. It comes with the license for this application. And so you don't need internet access. You don't need cloud access. It can run completely standalone, which means lower costs and you don't have to worry about, monthly or yearly fees. making it perfect for things like schools, small businesses, anywhere where getting access to this plate data quickly and easily can be very beneficial. So this is the interface in the camera itself. Now, some people never use this. They'll go to here to set it up the first time. We'll see that again later. But then they'll use it in their VMS. And that's what they'll use for searching plates and viewing all the data. But you certainly can use this as a daily interface into the system. So you'll see here we have events. It's listing all of the plate reads. It's showing me the date, time, plate, a photo in case it's not 100% accurate to be able to verify, but with a human, country and state, vehicle type, brand, model, and color. And you can view them based on this list format, or there's a thumbnail format that you would have seen in that video as well. So again, it's showing you different categories here, different columns of things you can see. There are some different categories of vehicles, car, sedan, van, SUV, and truck. So you can see all of that. And then some of the other fields here, again, the brand, it's showing you the logo to help, again, match it against the logo that you might see in the image, model, and color. So again, one of the big features is the what we call MMCR, make model color recognition. Obviously, that's only going to work if you are in color mode. These cameras typically have IR illuminators and can be seen at, visible at nighttime. Obviously, then it's black and white only, so you won't get that color piece there. And so on the bottom left, you'll see when we switch to from that list view, we can open it up kind of in a bigger format to be able to see, more information there. And on the right-hand side, again, just showing different ways that you can just see and visualize all of that data. This does have, as you saw in the video, allow and deny list or black and white lists, where I can enter a plate into the database here. You can also load in from a CSV file, and you can load plates from the event. So if you see a plate that you want to, highlight, you can click a button to add it to the allow or deny list. And that way, this can either be used to set an alert that, hey, when I see something in this list, let me know, or open the gate connected to the camera to do, access control based on entered plates. There is a search interface. So you can type in and you start typing in a word and it'll start to fill it in, whether it's a brand, a make, a model, a color, whatever. And you can put in, as you saw in the video, multiple criteria. You can say blue Toyota RAV4 and it will then search through the database. The camera comes with, and you'll see this in the specs later on, it comes with an SD card. And so the plate photos and this database and the allow and deny list are all stored in the camera. And so you can then search up to 500 events in your result list right from here. And then you can export that into an Excel file. So very powerful what you can do right from here. Obviously, when we talk about VMS integration, you can do this as well on your VMS side. And so here's just another example. Instead of showing the list format, showing it with more of the little thumbnails. So you can see that data here. We put in red Mercedes-Benz. And again, you just start typing it in and it'll auto-fill based on the database. And then show you, there you go, red Mercedes-Benz. It also has a very intuitive dashboard. And this is where the camera can be very useful for other use cases. Right? You might have the camera in to be able to easily search for specific plates or that allow list, deny list. But sometimes it can be useful to have extra data to give to whether it's building management or marketing or whoever to say, right, what's the busiest time of day? Maybe we need to overhaul how much parking we have or things like that. how many vehicles came in per week, the top brands of vehicles, top models of vehicles, the breakdown of which types, car, truck, bus, all of that. So you can see this data very graphically from this dashboard. And it shows you that SD card I was mentioning stores up to 10,000 records in that database. Okay. So from there, the different models, we have a couple models. The first one here is this one here, the TNO 7180 RLP. This is a dedicated, a purpose-made camera for LPR, and it has a special global shutter sensor, which allows it to detect up to 124 miles per hour with long-range IR. It has a 18x zoom lens, 6.8 to 12, 120 millimeters. And it can do up to 2-lane coverage, up to 165-foot range. Excuse me. And it's designed for both reflective and non-reflective license plates. This does use HPOE. It has an SFP port. Sometimes, traffic applications are far, far away and lightning issues, so people want to use SFPs for fiber. And it also takes 12-volt DC depending on your needs. Obviously, it has alarm inputs and outputs to be able to get that allow list and I list, things like that. There is a lightning grounding terminal. And for this model, you do need to check the accessories to make sure you can mount it properly. And it can mount, I believe, wall or ceiling type mount, often from a truss hanging down. The next one we have is our PNOA 9311 RLP. Again, the RLP at the end tells you or the LP is the license plate recognition. So this is a 4K camera for low to moderate speeds. Again, comes with the AI app built in, ready to go. It does have IR, and it has a 31x zoom lens, so 6.9 to 214 millimeters, which is pretty amazing. PoE plus or 12-volt DC. And again, the app is pre-installed, ready to go. Then we have our standard bullet, the P&O A9081 RLP, also a 4K camera, but it has a 2.2x motorized zoom lens. So, depending on your application, if you have smaller distances and the camera is closer up, then this certainly can suffice. And so this has a 4.5 to 10 millimeter zoom lens and 30-meter IR range. And again, you can see here it lists some of the speeds, 45 miles an hour, 2 lanes, or 25 miles an hour, 3 lanes. We'll talk about those distances and specs coming up shortly. And then the last one here, oh, sorry, 2 more. We also have a dome, PNVA 9081 RLP. It has a 2.2x lens, again, similar 4.5 to 10 millimeters. And then we also have a box camera kit, mainly the PNB A9091 RLPH. That has the PNB A90, or that model number's not right. PNB A9001 is built in with a specific lens. So that kit comes with the camera, the lens, the housing, the application and license, and a external IR illuminator for long distance reads. Okay, and this shows kind of a overview of all of them. Sorry, actually one of them is missing from this slide, sorry. But showing different speeds and distances that you can get. So again, for the fastest speeds, we'd want to go with the camera all the way on the left. You'll see another important piece is the forward distance and the angles and offsets and camera heights. Those are very important. If the camera is mounted too far away, or the rotation or the offset from the lane is too great, you just won't get reliable reads. So it's very important that when you're speccing this in, you might need to go out there and with a tape measure or similar devices, right, measure the distances and calculate angles to make sure it's going to do what we want. When it's installed properly, it works amazing. And I'm going to show you some of the tools that we have on our website for each model, and you want to check the right tool for the right model. This one here you can see, excuse me, this one here you can see is specifically for that TNO model. We have an installation or quick reference guide and an application manual. And I'm going to show part of a video here that will show some of the parts and pieces of setting up the application just so you can get an idea of it. And then I'm going to show you again some more of the aspects of those guides and how to know, is my distance correct, and my angle and my offset, and some tools built in to help with that. So again, hopefully you can hear the audio okay. Let me get that going. And I know there's some questions. We will get to all of those.
One, set your camera
Hold on, that's too low. Let's see if I can
for
boost
perfect
this up. Again, I'm sorry if you can't hear it. Let me see if that works.
recognition. What you have to learn: scene configuration, camera setup, recognition zone settings. The first step: you should make correct scene configuration. Keep vertical angles less than 30 degrees. Horizontal angles should be less than 30 degrees as well.
Oops, it stops playing for some reason.
The angle to steep. This affects recognition performance.
Oop, what is going on with my computer? Sorry.
This is an example of proper installation. The next step. Please pay attention to camera setup. You can use initial video parameters with the recommended settings button. Fine-tune your setup according to your environment. Shutter speed affects image the most. Here are the recommended settings, which can be changed depending on vehicle speed, high velocity, faster shutter, and vice versa.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna make a couple comments here. I'm gonna pause it. So there's a button in the application that says recommended setup. What that's gonna do is it pushes settings to the camera's configuration, mainly things like the minimum and maximum shutter speed. On a normal installation, you don't want to touch these. You want to let the camera use its recommended settings. But you'll hear the voiceover explain there are some cases you might need a faster shutter speed for certain applications, or if someone went and messed around with some of these settings, or sometimes you bring the camera into certain VMSs, they might put in some default settings. So that recommended button you can check, and this guide will tell you, again, some of the recommendations there.
AGC gives you more details, but can worsen the visibility. Keep it off or low. Use BLC in case that improves the setup to avoid headlights affecting the image. WDR is not recommended in any case.
Right, so very important not to use wide dynamic range because that changes shutter speed automatically, and we want to fix the shutter speed based on our application.
Here are examples of bad configuration. Please have an image similar to this. Finally, you should make recognition zone settings correctly. Use freeze frame option to stop moving vehicle on the video and check its plate size. Adjust recognition zone to have images with proper plates.
And so the application here has two tools to help you during your installation. You can freeze the image and show the plate grid, which shows a minimum and maximum size for the license plate. And you can drag it around to a car on screen and make sure that the plates that you are measuring fall inside of that minimum maximum range. There's also a wizard that we'll show shortly.
Aaron, I don't know if it's everybody, but I don't see any screen not shared.
Sorry?
I don't see a shared screen anymore. It's just gone away.
That might just be you. Do other people see my screen still shared? If someone can give like a thumb, I think you can do a raise hand.
Okay. It's just me. I'll log out and log in again.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully that means you guys can see it. Thank you. I'm going to lower your hands. Thank you. Hopefully.
Now you can get the best results.
And then they're showing you can also draw a zone on the screen, one or two zones of where to look for the plates to ignore, a parking lot or things like that. Okay, so that's just a very quick overview. Sorry, my computer's saving. 1 second. Okay. So some of the important things that they talked about were the maximum vertical angle needs to be less than 30 degrees. They recommend 15, but 30 is the maximum. Now, it says 20 meters here. That's going to depend on the model camera. Again, different cameras, different zoom lenses. So you want to look at the specs for each model. Our data sheets will list maximum forward distance, maximum, so minimum and maximum, and the heights and all of that. But again, the important thing is what data do I need to gather on site before I mount the camera? So I need to know things like the minimum and maximum forward distance, right? If the camera's trying to look too shallow or too far away, we might not be able to capture it. If the camera is too high, that could also be an issue. We also have the maximum horizontal angle depending on where the camera is installed and again, the angle that it's going to make. There's also the minimum forward distance. For US plates, we recommend between 80 and 300 pixels on target. And again, that's what that little plate overlay will help you determine. And we have this chart here. Again, you'd have to check this chart for each specific model, but it's showing you based on your camera height in meters and then feet, what forward distances would work. Obviously, the higher the camera goes, we have to then move the camera further out because of the angle, because we don't want the angle to be too steep that we then can't read the plate data. And then there's also considerations for if the camera is being mounted on the roadside or overhead, like on a post or on a gantry. And you have the offset. The offset is from that middle of the lane where the car should be, where the plate should be, to where the camera actually is, right? If the camera is mounted directly, overhead, then, the offset isn't a problem. But on the right-hand side, you can see if the camera's mounted on the side of the road, we then have to make sure that our angle isn't too far, depending on how many lanes we're trying to read. And that's often why you'll see on tolls and things like that, toll roads, they'll often have a dedicated camera per lane so they can zoom it in and not have to worry about trying to capture too many lanes in from too far away. And then the other piece is the rotation. We need to make sure that when the camera is mounted and adjusted, that we're getting no more than 5 degrees rotation. Obviously, that's typically pretty easy to adjust the camera. But again, depending if it's on a roadway, sometimes it's not so easy to go back and adjust that camera. So get it right the first time. Again, there are some tools in the camera to help view this to make sure that we are straight. And so again, we want to check again overview. We want to make sure the number of pixels are appropriate. We want to make sure the plate is readable to a human, right? The camera is zoomed and focused correctly. That the vertical angle is not too large, the horizontal angle is not too large, and our tilt is giving us a level image. Okay. We also need to consider daytime and nighttime. So this is where the camera typically switches black and white at night. We need to, during installation and configuration, make sure that all the camera settings, like you saw, the AGC, the IR, and these cameras, we can adjust the IR power as well, so they're not too bright and shiny. So we need to be able to check all of that. In the guide, it goes through a list of things to check. Obviously, we need to get the field of view correct and zoomed and focused. There's the LPR setup, but also very important is the camera date and time. If the date and time is not set correctly, when your metadata goes to your VMS, your plates won't match. So always make sure time and date is correct. Obviously, we recommend syncing to an NTP server. If this is a closed network, then find some other device, sync it to your VMS or your NVR or things like that. There are some SD card settings. Generally, you don't have to touch those. The camera should come pre-configured, ready to go for that. But if for some reason you could always reformat it. Maybe you were during commissioning, doing some plate reads and driving your truck around. When you're ready to commission the system, you could then format the SD card to start over if you needed. Otherwise, it'll just overwrite over time. And then as you saw, camera exposure, focus settings. And again, it mentions here some of the things you generally don't need to play with too much because we're optimizing for the computer, not for humans. Things like SSDR, WDR, DIS, defog, AGC, and anti-flicker. You want to leave them at the default settings for that. The configuration of the camera settings are exactly what we're used to in our normal Hanwha cameras. And you'll see the manual calls out each of these settings and what the recommendations are. Now there are sometimes some changes depending on if you can see a G for the IR, short or long installation. So there are some times you might need to make changes or tweak them, but generally these are the defaults and what we want to leave them at. Focusing is another important one that you might not know about. Our cameras have simple focus where you can push that button at the bottom and it focuses the camera. Great. Generally, you want to have some vehicles on the roadway so the camera focuses. That can be tough because cars are moving and generally they're not stopped right in the middle while you get a perfect focus. But one thing that you can do is you can draw a box on the screen of where a plate should normally be. And then you can hit simple focus and the camera will focus on that specific part of the scene. Built into the camera web interface, we also have a pixel counter where you can count the number of pixels on a plate. There's 2 ways to do it. There is a pixel counter. If I can draw right here, it is it this one? Where is it? It might be, oh, it's this one right here. There we go. Couldn't see it. And that lets you draw a box on the screen and see how many pixels are in that box to make sure we're hitting the minimum pixels that we need. Or you can also take a snapshot and then use other software tools to, um, count the pixels. If you're in the LPR app in the camera, there's that freeze frame option number 3 over here. And then you can show that plate grid here in the middle, and that will show you the minimum and maximum recommended sizes. Another important piece that we've added into the application is this wizard. And what this wizard will do is it will show you over time. So you let the camera run for, 20, 30 minutes, and it'll show you a color coding in the middle of the plate reads it's done. So that way, maybe I need to move the camera to the left, to the right, or change my zone. Here you can see we're capturing 2 lanes, and it's showing you kind of where it's captured and the relative number of pixels, a good, better, best type of approach to help you figure out, do I need to zoom the camera in or adjust it or whatnot. So definitely use that wizard to help you during installation. Specifically in the TNO 7180 RLP, it does have some additional settings you can put in the camera's web page, and to help the camera be even more accurate and adjust and configure on its own the camera height and the distance to the center of the road. Like I mentioned about day and night, there is a night exposure option, so you can have different settings for day versus nighttime to optimize it. So you can configure that on the TNO 7180 model. And here I'm going to show a quick video that shows, again, some of the viewing of plate data and searching. And so you can see cars driving by and being able to see the list view or the thumbnail view. And one of the questions someone came in about zooming, right? Obviously, if you zoom in too far on that plate, you might not have enough room to get the make, model, things like that. So generally, you want to have it zoomed out enough to be able to see that. So you can see here is the example of a 4K camera and what the field of view is, and we're still able to capture that plate because, again, 4K, and get the make, model, color. Obviously, this video was captured in our UK office, so you can see the plates are a little different. Here is the search screen. This is where I can go in and type in a specific plate number, country, make, model, color, whatever I want to search for. And like I mentioned, if you type in, red, you'll get up to 500 results on this screen here. And then you can keep filtering it, putting in, additional terms or new searches, however you want to do it. You can also put in a start and end time and date to search for. Oops, I think it stopped playing again. Sorry, my computer's crazy. And so you can see it's very quick, it's very responsive. These searches take, only a second to run. And you'll see there's that button that says add to plate list, so you can put any of them into that hot list. And now they're adding an additional search term. And then that's going to filter our list again. Here we can search just by color, or here's color and model. I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. Here's putting in an actual, a make and a model. Oh, sorry, make and a plate. 64 was in the plate number. Searching for a partial plate hit. And then on the statistics page, again, we can see the vehicle counts for the past 24 hours, for the week, top models, and so on. Okay. We also have, for improved accuracy in the TNO 7180, a preferred state. So you can put in the specific state that you are typically in to help with the, most likely match. Obviously, many states have cars from all over and nearby states, but it's just to help with what the most likely state will be. Like I mentioned, that wizard, this will show you in red means it was the plate was too small, all the way to green and blue are optimal, and then big and too big are in that gray section. So you can see here the plate reads were kind of on the bottom left. So based on the field of view and where the camera is mounted, we might want to move the camera a little bit to the left to get those plate reads maybe closer into the center. Again, depending on how many lanes I'm trying to capture. There is a built-in tilt and rotation tool. So you can overlay that guide and be able to see, and you can click and drag it around the screen. Are my plates level? Are they flat? Or do I have a 2-degree rotation or a 10-degree to make sure I fit within that, less than 5-degree rotation? And there are lots of questions about integration. So obviously, this is integrated with our Wisenet Wave VMS. It is also integrated with our AI plugin for Milestone and Genetec. So they work very quickly, very easily, very little to do. And then there's API integration with a lot of other systems, including a JSON over HTTP. So we can easily send out that data via HTTP. And generally what's going to happen, I'll demo this in a second, is the camera can just be sending the video stream and sending the metadata stream. And the way most VMSs will do it, like Wave, Milestone, Genetec, is whenever they get a plate hit, it creates a bookmark and it stores that as metadata with the make, model, color, and plate, all of that. And so as long as your VMS can handle it, one question was, what if I have more than 10,000 records, maybe a very high traffic area, and you have more than that per day? Your VMS will handle that. Your VMS will ingest all those plate hits. And as long as your VMS database can handle it and your server can handle computing those searches, you can have a camera that has, millions of records and hits and be able to search that on the VMS side. Okay. These also can have a basic integration to the Hanwha NVRs as well. So if you want to be able to search for plate text and, get bookmarks when plates are read. And this shows what the Wave VMS looks like. There's an advanced search, and I can then go in and I see my thumbnails of each of the plates. I have a vehicle search on the left-hand side. I can then choose vehicle type, color, brand, model, and the presence or absence of a plate. So I can do those searches. I can click on any one of those tiles and then be able to play back the video on the right-hand side in a looped player and view the plate data and the MMCR on the right-hand side. So that's what it looks like in Wave. And again, I'll demo that in a minute. In Genetech, very similar. When the plugin is installed, you'll see on the top I have my search hits, and it's showing me the make, model, color, and the plate. On the left-hand side is where I can put in my filters. I can put in a partial plate, country, vehicle type, color, and a number of time range to search. And then when you select a record on the top, the video will play on the bottom. And then milestone, again, very, very similar. Here it comes into a pop-out panel that you can click on, and it has a list of the states you can type in and or select, I should say. And then it plays on the right-hand side. Okay, so with that, let me just do a quick demo, and then I will jump to those questions. I know some of you have been waiting very patiently. Sorry about that. Great. So I'm going to bring up my Wave VMS, and this is one of our sites in California. And you'll see I'm loading up my camera. Hopefully my internet speed will behave. But you'll see there's my live video. And if I zoom into my timeline at the bottom, I'm on the object panel on the right-hand side. Oh, which one did I pull up? TNORLP. Why does it say not supported? Oh, I'm in the wrong layout. 1 second, everybody. There we go. So if I zoom in, I'm in the object panel here on the right-hand side. If I zoom in, you can see all my object hits. Every time it sees a plate or a vehicle or a person, it's tagging my video as seeing an AI object. On the right-hand side, I now have all of my last 99 hits are showing up here. I could click on each one to view the details. It shows me make, model, plate, country, state. Some of these, this is not the best location. The camera does have a little vibration, so sometimes the reads aren't 100%. I can click on one and get to playback, and you can see there's my playback of my video right from there. If I want to see more details, typically you're going to go to the advanced search on the right-hand side. This opens up that view that you saw a second ago, and hopefully my server will search quickly. There we go. You'll see that the sun probably just came up in California, so we still have a lot of dark images there. I can then go and search for specific vehicle colors. So I want to look for, let's say, a green car. And then we give it a couple seconds. Excuse me. Maybe it doesn't like green. Okay, so green was probably not the best one to search. Also, it's late at night. I'm like, yeah, so green isn't looking too good, but again, we can then go and choose a different color. We can put in a brand. So if I want to type in Toyota, again, it's going to then search from there. Excuse me. And there it's showing me all of the Toyotas. I can click on a specific one. We'll then see all the information there. And again, it's pretty responsive from there. I can click and see my data within a couple seconds. We can also put in a model. If I type in RAV for the RAV4, and then I can then again choose a color. Sorry, it's being a little slow. This is going through the internet from my home to another demo site, but hopefully you get the idea. If I was doing this locally, I wouldn't have this as long of a delay. And just so you'll see, I've got actually two. I thought I had two cameras here. Yeah, so there we go. So now it showed me all the RAV4s, and I can scroll through that. There we go. And I have another LPR camera here. So this is the P&O A9311. And so again, if my system had multiple cameras, I'd be able to search through multiple cameras, the plate data, all of that in a unified interface. Let me go back to live video. Whoops. There we go. Okay. The other thing I just want to show, and I know there's a question that just came up about this, but so this is the web page of the camera. It will look just like any other camera. This will be again, a little slow since I'm going remote through the internet, but um, it looks like just like any of our other cameras. The camera has its own firmware. You want to make sure you only use the specific firmware for that model. Yes, it looks, some of the cameras like the P&O A90 81R looks exactly like the non-LPR version. You need to be careful with the firmware version. Most of our cameras are on the 2 dot something firmware scheme. The LPR cameras, most of them are at the 1 point something firmware. So just leave that. Don't, you can upgrade firmware, but not to the same firmware as the non-LPR version. So always use Wisenet Device Manager to figure out what update you need. We have, and again, if you need to adjust the image adjustment under camera setup, this is where we would adjust the shutter speed, the SSDR, the AGC, all those things we saw in those guides and that video. Sorry, it's being a little slow and pokey, but this is where we would go and adjust my IR. We can adjust, make sure my WDR is turned off, check my exposure, which is my shutter speeds, all of that. Being this is the TNO model, there is an additional LPR menu in this camera. And so you'd want to go in and verify those couple aspects there. Then all the cameras have under our open platform, that's where we load in our LPR app. And you want to hit the Go App button. It opens up in a pop-up. And this is where we get our dashboard to be able to view all that plate data. So what a lot of people do, most VMSs like Wave, allow you to embed a web page into a layout. So most people will embed this app page into a layout, so that way they can view the camera video back here, plus this all on one view. And that way you can see your plate data here. You can see if there are notifications, whitelist, blacklist. You could use this search here if you want, but then also to be able to see this statistic panel, which again, some people really like being able to see. And the fact that you can put a mouse over and see, aha, today, this hour, we had 201 vehicles. Last hour, 171. On Monday, we had 2,042 top models, everything you can put your mouse over and see all that data. And then the settings page. So this here shows you the version of the app. It's here or back on this other screen here. You can see that version 8.2.96. There are times where there might be an upgrade for that app. And so, yes, you would go to our website, put in the model number of the LPR camera, and it will show you the version of the app that you can install. And you can always just install the new version on top of the old one, and it will do an in-place upgrade of the Road AI application. But just so I can show you guys around, you can see this is where we have that wizard that you can run through, and it'll show you our plate reads and how that is. Like I said, this is not the best install. We have this traffic light hanging in the way there. We can show the plate grid, and we can then move that around the screen, the minimum, maximum plate size. We have our region and preferred state. We can push the recommended camera settings here, and we can also draw an additional zone to look for plates in another area. If I make any changes, hit save to save that. Depending on what settings if you change region, you, I think, need to format the SD card. I think it shows you a message here, so just be aware of that. And then there is a longitude, latitude. If you're some VMS will read this to be able to embed this into a map. And then there's some options. Do I want to turn the model and the color recognition on or off? And then our integration. So we can do an NVR integration for NVR. I don't think we actually need this Wave integration. I think this was an older one. You'd put in the IP address, port number, username, password for Wave, but now I don't think we need that. If you're using an NVR, you just put in the IP address and the port of the NVR, and you enable the text feature. And then we have our basic JSON events here, and there's a couple options to fill in. So very easy to do. Once you configure your camera, you should always hit export, make a backup copy of the programming. So if something gets messed up, you can go back to it. You can format the SD card, like I said, to delete all of the plate reads. And you can see the status to make sure the SD card is happy and healthy. And then if you are doing the whitelist blacklist, this is where you can load in specific plates, or you can import a text file or CSV file, and then you can say when a white or black plate is detected, do I want to open the alarm output connected to that camera? And that's really it. So let me thank you everyone for joining. I'm going to turn off recording, and then I will get to those questions there. Thank you everyone for joining us today.